But guys, we'll start with an opening statement, then go to Niz.
Recording in progress.
How's everybody doing? All right, so Thursday practice on a Wednesday because of a Friday game, but creatures of habit. I know all of us coaches, we write down it's Thursday today, but even though it's Wednesday. So prep is almost done, but not quite done. I like where we're at. We've had a good week, and we're getting closer to kickoff. So with that, I'll open it up to questions.
Curt, you haven't talked about your own history against Notre Dame. I think you've, as a coach, been 5 times against them, 3 times in South Bend. Just any memories of those games, or what stood out about kind of your past history against the team?
Yeah, my first year as a graduate assistant coach at the University of Pittsburgh for Foge Fazio. We had a pretty good team. Played Notre Dame at Notre Dame. We went to the Fiesta Bowl that year and won. It was a tight game, low scoring, maybe 14-9, something like that. Great win. I think Jerry Faust may have been the coach at Notre Dame at the time. Second time would have been I was coaching at Rice the year Notre Dame won the national championship. I believe Lou Holtz was the head coach, 86 maybe, or 88. End of the year, cold. Our guys, Rice, weather's warm, come up pregame. I mean, it was really cold. Sweatshirts on, the whole deal. Notre Dame comes out, short sleeves. Nobody had long sleeves on. I mean, we scored first, but that was it. After that, we got waxed. Went up there with Johnny Majors, got beat pretty good. And then played Notre Dame. The last game at Pitt Stadium, old Pitt Stadium. I was working for Walt Harris, and near the end of the season, we beat Notre Dame. That was a memorable night. And then played them in the Gator Bowl in 2002 at North Carolina State, and Phillip Rivers' junior year, I believe it was. We won, I think it was 31-13 or something. It was a good win. We won 10 or 11 that year at NC State. So, yeah, played them a few times, and, looking forward to this matchup against a really good football team. They're a really good football team.
Zach Osterman and Todd.
Sorry, yeah, don't mute me there. Curt, I asked Coach Haynes this yesterday. I know that it's not quite as extreme, what Notre Dame does as kind of like a triple option team, but when you have a quarterback that can run and you have some of the option packages that they give him, is it a little bit like preparing for the option? And people always say having extra time to sort of simulate that, to really drill that with your scout team and then give your defense a more extended look. Basically, does that help? Do you feel like having a little bit more prep time for what Notre Dame does with Riley Leonard in the run game helped you guys?
Well, I think, the extra prep time is an advantage for both sides, right, to learn their opponent. But sometimes you can have too much information, right? In my mind, what they do, I would call those +1 runs more so than option. And, we've seen those throughout the course of the season. Now, who they're doing it with is the difference. They're good up front. Riley Leonard's a great competitor. He's got great mobility. He can throw the ball well also. Backs are good. So, there may be a little wrinkle that we haven't seen yet, but for the most part, we've seen this kind of stuff and seen it through the years. At the end of the day, it comes down to blocking, tackling, gap control, winning the line of scrimmage, and the fundamentals of football. So they've got a good offense. Riley Leonard's a big part of it. I've been watching him on tape for a few years, studying, when he was at Duke. I think a lot of them as a player, and they do a nice job.
Todd and Zach Browning.
Curt, Jaylen Walker spoke with us yesterday, and one of the things that always comes across when we speak with him is his kind of joy in the moment and his joy in playing the game, and he obviously backs it up on the field. what do you think has made him tick, and what's made him so instrumental to your defensive success, not
Yeah.
only here but back at GMU?
Yeah, I love that guy. Great guy to be around. Always a smile on his face. I mean, and a really good football player, and a guy that really didn't come. He came from a tough situation in Richmond, and football was like his way out. And I've heard him express that a few times. And he loves the game. And when we recruited him, he was a running back and a linebacker. He's about 195 pounds. Coach Haynes, I give him a lot of credit. He really, from the very beginning, thought he was a terrific prospect. And since the first day he stepped foot on campus back at James Madison, those things showed up. Speed, quickness, twitch, love of the game, passion, and made a lot of big plays at James Madison, game-changing plays, and has done so here too. He's a top-notch guy. And he's a guy I'll really miss when it's all over, and we don't plan on this being over for a while, okay? But I think an awful lot of him, and he loves football, loves it.
Zach Browning, then Jack.
Hey, Coach, you've talked a lot this past week and in the lead up to this game about different things that your team needs to do, whether it's stopping the run, limiting turnovers, keeping Curtis protected. But if you could single out one thing, the most important thing for you guys entering Friday, what would that be?
Play well from the first play to the last play.
Jack to Mike Schumann.
Hey, Curt, I guess with the potential for snow on Friday in South Bend, I guess how do you approach preparing your team for that and also kind of managing that during the game?
I hope it snows 1.5 feet. We have a Canadian quarterback. Did you see him throw the ball against Purdue? I mean, this guy grew up like in the frigid north. He looked pretty good to me that night, so I don't think it's going to bother him very much. And so much revolves around that guy, right? Everybody else will find a way to stay warm, but it's not a concern. It's going to be cold. It's going to be windy. There could be snow on the ground. Both teams have to play on it. We've been practicing outside in the cold for a long time, and we played in it against Purdue. When we started the game, there was snow on the turf. It was cold. It was windy, so we've been through it.
Mike to Matt Weaver.
Yeah, hey coach, I know from a travel standpoint, you've said you like to get in as late as possible. I'm just curious with the special situation here. Are you still able to do that, or are you on a special travel schedule because of the CFP? And are there other distractions from the CFP that's kind of being pushed down that kind of takes you out of your normal routine?
No, not really. This first round's treated like more of an away game. So we'll have our normal Friday routine tomorrow, leave about the same time we normally would. We will charter a plane up there, flying to South Bend, take a bus to Michigan City, about 50 minutes away, hotel, team meal, meetings in the evening, have meetings in the afternoon before the game. So not much is going to change for this one here.
All right, Matt Weaver, then Zion.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Great.
I know you won Coach of the Year awards before, but you basically swept almost all the awards so far, the national ones, kind of especially stand out. What's it mean to you as a head coach, and then just to this program who haven't had these kind of recognition in the past?
Well, I got to stand up for myself. I think I've swept all the awards, not almost all. No,
bad,
I'm not
my
eligible.
bad.
I'm not eligible for the Dodd because I haven't been here a year. No, but it's a credit to our team and our coaches, and it's flattering. I haven't really had a lot of time to think about it. Truthfully, I'm sure at some point it will register. I think when you're young and you aspire to be good in any profession, these kind of things are meaningful. But I got to give a lot of credit, first of all, to our administration for providing the support and commitment that allowed us to have the means to be successful, and then our staff, who had a major role. Derek Owings, our strength and conditioning coordinator, the assistant coaches, in developing these players, and then the players themselves who chose Indiana, bought into a vision and a dream, you know, and they had to dig deep. They had to do their research and believed it was possible. And for a lot of them, were looking for a bigger stage to prove themselves. And they've bought in. They receive the message. They apply it daily. They've been very consistent. They've been a great group to coach. It's never perfect, never always perfect. You know, there's a hiccup here and there. But this team has really a lot of kids on it that are great leaders, and a lot of character on this football team, a lot of experience. A lot of guys have been 2, 3, 4-year starters and been very consistent through the years. And, you know, it all came together. And, I mean, when the season – I hear a lot about our schedule, right? Well, when the season started, we were playing the defending national champ, the runner-up, and Ohio State, and 6 or 7 teams that had played in bowl games. And, you know, we have the largest margin of victory in the country. And if you just look at P4 teams, it's the second largest margin of victory. And then I hear that, well, we haven't beaten a top 25 team. Well, you know, when we played Nebraska, they were 25th in the coaches poll. We were 18th. We beat them 56-7. Okay, so at the end of the day, those awards. Back to the awards, right? This is where all this started. You know, I'm very appreciative. I'm humbled, but I got to give credit where credit's due, and that's to everybody else in this organization.
Zion and then Joe Rexrode.
Hey, Curt, you talked the other day just about how you had everybody kind of put their phone away during the team meeting. I was just curious, as this week has progressed and gone on, how have you seen the focus and the psyche of your team shift and get more locked in?
Yeah, and that was the coaches' meeting, staff meeting. And then you know, they were to give the players the message also. Because nowadays everybody's got their phone, right? You know, but turn the phones off in the meetings. I've really seen the focus, the prep, the urgency on the practice field, the speed at which we practice, the execution level really ratchet up a notch or two. Not that it was not good in the off week, but this is game week and it's different. So I like where we're at, and I hope I like where we're at when I walk off the practice field this evening, but I'm confident that I will.
Joe, last one.
Sorry about that. The unmute was a struggle for me there. Curt, the building of this roster, as you look back a year ago, I know a lot was made of the 13 JMU guys and Curts and everything, but how would you characterize that overall? What'd you learn from it? And then how similar or different are things a year later for you in that regard?
Yeah. Well, you know, invention's the mother of necessity, or vice versa. I may have that backwards. I mean, we had a desperate roster situation when I came. 10 offensive starters in the portal, half the defense within a week or 10 days. We were down to about 40 guys. And it wasn't like we were running guys off. It was just the times. Coach leaves and we had a lot of guys from Texas and wherever and what have you. So once the evaluation process started, you know, there was familiarity with a lot of these guys. Most of the guys we recruited, somebody in the organization knew them well. And the JMU thing, like I've said a number of times, I never once even thought that was a remote possibility because this process happened so quickly. You know, I was making a decision on what I was going to do. But then as soon as I got here, they started to jump in the portal, and, you know, one guy came and his buddy would come and led to, you know, what it was. And I knew these guys could play, and I knew they could help us, and I knew we needed them because we had to change the culture here. We had to change the way people think. We had to bring some people in here that were used to winning championships, used to winning, going to bowl games. And then you bring guys in here like Miles Price, who Derek Owings knew real well. Trey Wettig, who Bob Bostad knew real well. Ellison, who we had recruited at JMU. Keyshawn Williams, both from Wake Forest. And now I'm going to forget people, but like Sean Asbury, we had recruited twice, once out of high school when he went to BC, and once on the way back from BC when he went to ODU. Terry Jones, his teammate. So Curtis Rourke, who we really didn't have a tie to, but researched him, liked him on tape. This was a great opportunity for him based on our track record with quarterbacks and the guys we were adding to the portal, and obviously he has thrived. So I know I'm forgetting some people. I guess every coach is different in terms of their evaluation when it comes to recruiting. I think my experience as a recruiting coordinator, when I went with Johnny Majors to Pitt in 1993, and I technically had that title throughout till I left Alabama, left the staff at Alabama. So was always very involved in the recruiting and evaluation process. And, I got my mistakes out of me at a young age, unfortunately for Coach Majors, and learned a lot in terms of, what I was what the prototypical prospect that came to a four-year school and was successful, what that looked like in high school or now in the transfer portal versus the guy that had potential, could be, but hadn't quite put it together yet. So production over potential, you've heard me say it a million times, it worked for us.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, safe travels, guys. See you Friday.